Chapter 611. He was seriously a man that left them no way out. However, before she could retaliate, he had already pressed her down with his arm. Then, he slowly lowered his body to hers and kissed her lips gently. Of course, the result was that she could no longer hear anything at all because her heart was completely filled with his faint kisses. When he kissed her, his eyes stared into hers. That sensual, overwhelming gaze had really taken over her entire mind. He carefully avoided the injured part of her arm and started kissing her before suddenly pressing himself on her. Before long, there were no more sounds coming from the room at the corner. There were no sounds from the other rooms as well, but in this room, the sounds started again after some time. They were softer than the sounds from the other rooms because Gu Jingze knew how to keep it under control. He adequately controlled the pace and did not move too vigorously. Each time, he could push himself into her deepest parts without wasting his energy, but at the same time, he could make both of them feel very satisfied. They could do as they wished at home since the sound insulation was good and there was no one to hear them. However, they could not do the same here, so he deliberately slowed down immensely and his movements also became much more gentle. But they still did it for a long time. The next day, when Lin Che woke up, she moved her arm and found that it still hurt a little. She moved her arm back and rubbed her eyes. Seeing that Gu Jingze was not around, she went out alone in her pajamas to wash up. However, she realized that everyone was gazing at her very suggestively after she went out. She did not think anything of it at the moment. The only thing on her mind was that perhaps she looked too sloppy after waking up in the morning, so everyone kept looking at her. It was better for her to go and wash up quickly. While she was brushing her teeth, a young lady beside her looked at her just when she lifted her toothbrush to her mouth. While blushing, the young lady smiled and said, "Dear me. You're so lucky." Lin Che froze. She did not know what she was talking about. She left once she was done brushing her teeth. Another girl came to her and raised her eyebrows while looking at her. The girl was a foreigner and immediately said to her, "Oh, your boyfriend is so strong." So what? So strong, her boyfriend. Lin Che wondered whether Gu Jingze had gone off to do something early in the morning. Why did everyone think that he was strong? She shook her head and went in with a dazed expression. The people outside only started discussing when they saw her go in. They did it for at least an hour yesterday night, right? You heard it too. Of course, they did it so vigorously. The girls looked at the men beside them a little speechlessly. Look at how Gu Jingze exerted all his strength and look at them. The men were the ones who wanted to complain. This man, he really left them no way out. Throughout the process of taking photographs, every single shot enchanted the photographer. When the photographer left, he even shook Lin Che's hands and said, "You really did a good job this time. I really look forward to collaborating with you on some projects." Lin Che smiled and said, "You're being too polite. I would really be lucky if I could collaborate with you." The photographer handed the negatives to Lin Che, who looked at the photographs. She had not taken many photographs together with Gu Jingze before this. Now that she was looking at the photographs, she really felt that they were great. He looked so good in the photographs. They captured his smile, his face, and his gaze, all were frozen in the photographs. This man matched the scenery very well and was very photogenic too. PFT. If she was a talent agent, she would really find it a waste for this man not to be a celebrity and an actor. But apart from being handsome, he had other good qualities. It would also be a waste for him to be a celebrity and nothing else. Lin Che chose a few photographs and sent them to Yu Minmin and Shen Yoren. Yu Minmin said immediately, "Wow, you went to take wedding photographs. Could it be that you're going to have a wedding?" Lin Che replied, "That's not the case. We just went out to take photographs and have some fun." "Alright then, Gu Jingze treats you so well. It's really abusive to us. Get lost." After seeing the pictures, Shen Yoren got even more excited and kept gasping in admiration. "These photographs are fantastic. Wouldn't I get a lot of money if I sold it?" The private wedding photographs of Lin Che and Gu Jingze, I think many people would die from shock. "I can't believe you dare to send these photos. I really love you so much. Since you trust me so much, I definitely won't betray your trust." Lin Che smiled and replied, "Sure. How will you repay my trust in you?" The next time you go out, let me go with you. I'll carry your bags and lead your horse. I mean it. You can take me along so I can act like I'm rich too. I can take the chance to let myself loose and travel to several larger cities. That's enough. Ask your Chen Yucheng to take you there if you want to go tilde. Get lost. Lin Che had a lot of fun this time. After returning home, she rested for a day before getting ready to go to the set for her last day of filming. The first thing Gu Jingze did after coming back was to go to the company to settle work matters. He called her and told her that they would go back together tonight. Yu Minmin arrived while she was leaning against the wall and waiting for her scenes. So you finally came back. There was someone following behind her. Lin Che had yet to notice and merely said, I'm here for battle despite my injury. I wasn't even supposed to come in the first place, but I insisted on coming, alright. However, Lin Che only noticed later that the person behind her was Shui Yang. Lin Che sat up straight. She saw that he had changed the way he dressed and now looked more well-groomed. He seemed to have just undergone some styling. He looked much more clean-cut than before. Shui Yang looked at Lin Che apologetically. Sister Che, I'm sorry. I caused you to fall and injure your arm. Lin Che hastily said, I wasn't criticizing you earlier. I was joking with Minmin. Yu Minmin smiled and pulled Shui Yang towards them. Then, she said, look, I did a pretty good job with his makeover, right? Lin Che recalled that Shui Yang had already been signed to their studio. Lin Che looked Shui Yang up and down. She smiled, nodded, and said, yes. Not bad. He looks a little like a celebrity now. But are there any plans for his development in the future? Yu Minmin nodded. He already passed the audition for a drama. But the role isn't a major one, he's the third male lead. Shui Yang said, no, Sister Yu, Sister Che. I think that the role is already a very good one. Before this, I only had a few more lines than the extras. This role is more significant than any other role I've taken up. Lin Che nodded and felt that he had quite a steady personality. Yes, everyone starts with a small role. I hope that you will keep your eyes on the ground as you progress. I think Yunshi will be very happy to watch your dramas. At the mention of Yunshi, he fidgeted slightly before nodding. I will continue to work hard. I hope that I will be as formidable as Gu Jingze one day and be admired by people. And be admired by Yunshi as well. Lin Che said, I hope that that day will come. When the time comes, you will be our company's money tree. Hee hee. Shui Yang said, it's still too early to say that. Sister Che, thank you for giving me this opportunity. You took no account of my past actions and you were even willing to sign me to your company. Lin Che said, that's nothing. I only signed you on because you're a good fit. Sister, you didn't get to where she is for no reason too. She also has a good eye. Anyway, do your best in this industry. All of us look upon you very favorably. Chapter 612. Inviting them to her house for a meal. Shui Yang immediately said, don't worry, Sister Che. I will definitely make good progress in this industry. I won't let either of you down. As they were in the film city, she was now in the modern studio. There was also an ancient city on the other side. Lin Che was filming here because The Witch's Diary was sort of a modern fantasy drama. Shui Yang was still on the other set working as an extra, so he left very soon after. After watching him leave, Yu Minmin said to her, I think that he's not bad. He's a young and handsome face that is quite obedient. I'm going to nurture him as a skilled actor idol, but he definitely has to join some big productions now if he wants to get famous. He hasn't been in enough productions. I'll see if we can try getting him into some good television series. Lin Che nodded and said, by the way, come to my house tonight. Why? It's nothing. We're just having hot pot at home. Come and eat together with us. We're cooking on our own. I instructed the kitchen staff to make preparations and I also asked Shen Yoren and Chen Yucheng to come. Yu Minmin said, wow. Having hot pot at your house, won't your husband get mad with anger? Lin Che asked, why would he go mad with anger? Such a foul smell. No way, I already told Gu Jingze. He's eating with us too. Yu Minmin said, it's difficult to imagine what Gu Jingze would look like eating hot pot. Won't he just look like he's having a normal meal? What's the difference? Of course, there's a difference. The first thing that comes to mind when I look at Gu Jingze is a picture of him eating Western food and light meals in a very elegant manner. We've definitely never seen him having hot pot in such a buzzing atmosphere. Lin Che said, I guess then you'll be able to see it today. By the way, you can ask older brother to come along if he's free. The two of you are a married couple. Why are you always apart? I've never seen you two together. Yu Minmin froze and said, I'll ask him. But we're totally different from you guys. You're a married couple very much in love. Our relationship is definitely not as sweet as yours. Rubbish. Whose relationship is sweet? After telling Yu Minmin about it, Lin Che finally finished filming a few scenes and soon met up with Shen Yoren to go home together. Shen Yoren had brought Chen Yucheng along with her. They waited outside for Lin Che before leaving for the Gu residence together. When Lin Che arrived at the entrance of the Gu residence, she told the security guards there to let Yu Minmin directly in when she arrived. Even without that, the security guards probably would not have stopped Yu Minmin from going in if she came here. When Yu Minmin returned home, she still asked as a matter of politeness, is Mr. President home? Yes, Mr. President went out for an interview today. He came back earlier than expected because he wasn't feeling well. He wasn't feeling well. Yu Minmin immediately walked in and saw Gu Jingming standing by the window. He stood by the French window with his hand behind his back while he looked outside. Yu Minmin asked while walking towards him, what happened? Do you feel discomfort anywhere? No. Hearing her voice, he turned around to look at Yu Minmin and asked, is anything the matter? Oh, no. Just rest if you're feeling unwell. I just came in to take a look. Yu Minmin looked at him for a long time before turning her head around. She said coolly, by the way, she then scratched her hair. Lin Che said that they're having hot pot at the Gu residence tonight. She invited all of us over to eat and to have some fun. You can come with me too if you feel alright. Gu Jingming squinted his eyes and turned his head around. He seemed to be staring at Yu Minmin. Under his penetrating gaze, Yu Minmin felt completely uneasy. She hastily said, but I was just asking. Go ahead and do your work, go ahead. Are we going to Jingze's place? He suddenly asked. Yu Minmin said, yes. Gu Jingming muttered, alright. Alright, did, alright, mean that he was really going? Yu Minmin immediately felt slightly regretful. She had merely asked out of politeness earlier. She did not expect him to take it seriously. Gu Jingming walked towards her. Seeing that Yu Minmin was still there looking at him with her eyebrows furrowed, he turned around and asked, what's wrong? Let's go. Ah, okay. Yu Minmin thought anxiously that she was done for, but still, she could only leave to pack her things. Lin Che waited outside for some time before she saw that Shen Yoren and Chen Yucheng had arrived before her. Chen Yucheng drove the car to the entrance and instructed someone to park it inside. Then, the two of them walked towards her. Ah, Minmin is still not here? Shen Yoren asked. Lin Che nodded. Yes, she's not here yet. She had just finished speaking when she saw that Yu Minmin had arrived. However, the surprising thing was that the car which was heading towards them was the car that Mr. President usually used. This car was followed by another car specially used by the president's personal bodyguards. Lin Che froze before regaining her senses soon after. Wow, Mr. President is here with Minmin. Immediately, Shen Yoren said in surprise, no way. Did he really come with her? Of course, those people are the president's personal bodyguards. Oh my god, then, is our meal today going to be elevated to a national banquet? Rubbish. What national banquet? Lin Che hastily said to the security guard. Go and inform Gu Jingze. She had thought that Yu Minmin was coming alone. Yu Minmin had not said that Gu Jingming was coming either. She had thought that they were not coming together since Gu Jingming and Yu Minmin were usually apart. Hearing this, Gu Jingze immediately came out to take a look as well. Gu Jingming alighted from the car while Lin Che, Shen Yoren, and Chen Yucheng stood there together. After Gu Jingming alighted, Yu Minmin also walked quickly towards them from the other side. Yu Minmin looked completely uncomfortable standing behind Gu Jingming. She looked at Lin Che meaningfully, hinting to her that she did not want him to come. Fortunately, Gu Jingze finally came just then. Older brother, it's so rare to see you out and about. Gu Jingming looked at him. Why, am I not welcome? No way, you're the one who's too busy. You ignore me when you don't need me. You talk like you're not busy. The two of them greeted each other like this. Gu Jingming patted Gu Jingze on the shoulder and the two of them walked inside together. Gu Jingze said, come in. We set up the hot pot in the garden because we were afraid it would be too hot. Hearing this, Chen Yucheng asked from behind, is that so? That would be very nice. The scenery in the garden is good at night. They went in one by one. The maids had already prepared everything and welcomed them in from both sides. However, someone came down the stairs upon hearing the noise. Upon closer look, they realized it was Mo Hiling. Yu Minmin tugged at Lin Che. Then, she tilted her head and asked, I nearly forgot about her. Is that woman still staying here and refusing to leave? Hasn't her arm recovered? I don't know. Lin Che glanced up at her and could not be bothered with her. However, Mo Hiling rushed down the moment she saw that there were so many people around. Mo Hiling had already known that they were preparing for something at home. When she saw them arrive, she realized that they had invited people over to eat. She looked closely at the people who had come here. Chen Yucheng had actually been invited, but the main thing was that Mr. President had actually come. She quickly hurried down to greet him. Mr. President, nice to meet you. However, Gu Jingming looked strangely at the woman standing in front of him. It seemed that he could not remember who she was even after thinking for a long time. Chapter 613. They said that the photographs of the two of them were great. Mo Hiling looked up at Gu Jingming only to see confusion plain on his face. She said in surprise, Mr. President, I'm Mo Hiling. You've met me before. There was no way she had not met Gu Jingze's older brother in the past when they had been together. What's more, she was still the young miss of the Mo family. However, Gu Jingming merely looked at her and paused before saying, oh, nice to meet you. He had obviously forgotten her. Mo Hiling's face instantly turned red with anger. Mr. President, I used to be with Gu Jingze all the time. I even had a meal with you before when we were still together. Gu Jingming continued to look at her and said gently, I'm sorry. My memory is pretty bad. I don't quite remember. Mo Hiling was so angry that she nearly spit out blood. However, when she saw that there were many people around, she simply felt that she would be even more ashamed if she continued to stand here. She had no choice but to stand aside and look on as Gu Jingming walked past her. Behind him, Yu Minmin glanced at her and looked her up and down before catching up with Gu Jingming. Shen Yoren rolled her eyes at Mo Hiling directly and went off. Lin Che looked at her but said to the maid, tell the kitchen to prepare the water for us. Then, she also walked past her. Gu Jingze did not even spare her a second glance and walked past her as well. Mo Hiling was so angry that her teeth were clenched. She was even angrier when she looked up to find that the maids were trying not to laugh. They seemed to be looking at her mockingly. Mo Hiling immediately stomped her foot and humphed. After walking away, she could still hear the maids murmuring softly. Although their voices were too soft and she could not clearly hear what they were saying, they were obviously talking about her. Mo Hiling felt like her face was heating up. It was as if someone had just slapped her. She turned around to see Lin Che and Gu Jingze standing together. Gu Jingming was at the side with Yu Minmin beside him. Shen Yoren and Chen Yucheng had already sat down together. Lin Che looked up and continued to chat happily with Gu Jingming. Mo Hiling angrily wondered why Lin Che was always able to get along with these people while she herself could not. Because she had been such a fool and had kept such a low profile, thinking that loving Gu Jingze was enough. She had never thought about the people around him. But Lin Che was indeed better at this than she was. In such a short time, she had first set a goal for herself, and that was to grab a hold of the people around Gu Jingze. Lin Che could not be bothered with anyone else. She was busy instructing the kitchen staff and helping them set up the tables. They really started to cook hot pot outside. Gu Jingze was skeptical about Gu Jingming's unexpected presence here and glanced at him from time to time. On the other hand, Gu Jingming had a nonchalant expression and chatted casually with Gu Jingze. At the side, Yu Minmin did not dare to make a sound. Shen Yoren had never expected Gu Jingming to come for today's gathering. Before this, she could still pretend that Gu Jingze did not exist whenever he was around. But now that there were two Buddhas standing here, no one could continue to pretend that they did not exist. Thus, Shen Yuan merely sighed and looked at Chen Yucheng as if to say that this hot pot was seriously a little uncomfortable. Sensing Shen Yuan's eyes on him, Chen Yucheng smiled and said, "Hey, President Gu, I heard that you guys even went to take wedding photographs. Why didn't you send them to us so that we could see them?" Gu Jingze glared at Chen Yucheng. Chen Yucheng asked, "Why? We're all so familiar with one another. Just let us take a look. I really haven't seen you in any weird poses before." Lin Che hastily asked, "What weird poses?" Chen Yucheng said, "I mean those weird poses you strike when you take wedding photographs. I've seen some people take pictures while the photographer instructs them from the side saying, 'Groom, point to the sky together with the bride and imagine that you're flying to the sky with her.' Isn't that the case?" Everyone started laughing loudly. Shen Yuan said, "You impersonated the photographer so well. Where did you see it happen? It's true though, the ones I've seen are also like that. I nearly died of laughter. It can't be that you guys did that too when you took the photographs." Shen Yuan also could not imagine what Gu Jingze would look like doing those poses. Lin Che said in disbelief, "All right. We didn't strike any poses at all. Where did you see such things?" Shen Yuan said, Hey, you're all talk. You only sent us one photo. Send them all to me. Once we see them, we'll know what kind of photographs you took." Yu Minmin joined in and said, yes. Let us see them. They're definitely in your cell phone, right? We won't spread the photos to outsiders anyway. Chen Yucheng said, "Hey, I want to see them too." Left with no choice, Lin Che could only take out her phone and show them the photographs. Shen Yuan took her phone from her. Yu Minmin quickly leaned over as well. "Wow, they're so close to each other in this picture. Good lord, they kissed just like that. Wow, this looks good. Even though she's wearing her own clothes, the backdrop and her movements are very beautiful. She's not in a wedding dress but this one looks good too. Dear me, look at President Gu's expression. He looks so doting." The two of them looked at the photos while shouting in surprise. Lin Che was left speechless. Behind them, Chen Yucheng saw a few photographs and sighed, saying, "Haha, as expected, their photos are different." Shen Yuan scanned through the photos while sighing in admiration. This world is really a world based on appearances. Yu Minmin said, "Of course. I was the one who discovered Lin Che. There's definitely a reason why her face has been in the industry for so many years." Shen Yuan said, "That's enough. Didn't you say that you didn't expect anything of her at the start?" Yu Minmin said, "Apart from appearances, luck is also a factor in this industry. At the time, the iron wasn't hot yet and she received no offers for good productions. Boss, I needed to earn money too, you know. My entire family, old and young, depends on me for their survival. I couldn't just nurture her only and not earn money." The two of them started chatting between themselves while continuing to swipe her phone screen. "But you guys really didn't strike those poses Chen Yucheng mentioned. All of the photos look very heartwarming and not at all pretentious." Chen Yucheng noticed this as well. He leaned backward in a slight show of boredom. He then shook his head and said, "Seriously, Gu Jingze. Your life can't possibly be that perfect. From time to time, you should let us see an embarrassing side of you. That would be good." Gu Jingze looked at him. "Why should I show you?" Shen Yuan also sighed. She had the same thoughts as Yu Minmin and Chen Yucheng. Their photographs turned out really well and they were not pretentious at all. There was no hint that they had deliberately struck poses like in those typical wedding photographs. The photos simply showed the two of them standing together lovingly and were extraordinarily beautiful. Shen Yuan said, "It looks like there's no hope of seeing President Gu make a fool of himself in this lifetime." Lin Che said, "You guys are way too mean. Why do you want to see people make a fool of themselves for no reason?" She snatched her phone back and did not let them continue looking at the photos. "That's enough. Let's start eating first." Lin Che saw that the hot pot was already boiling and giving off steam. Thus, she quickly called for everyone to eat. Chapter 614. A woman with a boyfriend is just different. Hot pots varied considerably in taste. The chefs here used the ingredients well and were hygienic in handling the food. The food tasted fresh and clean. However, none of the men had a liking for spicy food and instead ate more of the non-spicy broth. They finished eating hot pot in a noisy atmosphere. Lin Che felt very satisfied. She had eaten so much that her stomach was jutting out, so she went out to rest. Yu Minmin felt too hot inside and followed her out. She nudged Lin Che's arm and said, I was wondering what the men of the Gu family would look like eating hot pot, but in the end, it was truly completely disappointing. Gu Jingze and Gu Jingming could even eat hot pot as if they were eating Western food. There was not a drop of sweat on their faces and they simply ate so slowly and leisurely. Yu Minmin said, do you think they've been educated to be like sculptures since they were young? Haha, perhaps you're right. Just then, Gu Jingze walked towards them. Yu Minmin tactfully left immediately so that the two of them could enjoy the night. She smiled at Lin Che and said, he can't leave you alone for even a minute, seriously. I'll go back first. After Yu Minmin went back, Gu Jingze came up to Lin Che. Lin Che was so full that she wanted to burp. She looked at Gu Jingze and said, I ate so much today. Gu Jingze said, silly. You can eat whenever you want to. But why did you eat so much? Eating so much in one sitting is bad for your body. Quote. Lin Che rubbed her bloated belly. Dear me, I do feel a little too full. Let's go out and digest our food. Gu Jingze nodded. Together, they left the Gu residence and went out for a stroll. The sky had just turned dark. Lin Che said happily, it really feels quite nice to have a gathering with our friends once in a while, but I didn't expect older brother to come too. Older brother doesn't usually attend private gatherings like these. He has his own social circle and doesn't usually have dealings with other people. Even with you too. Lin Che found it very strange that the three of them had different social circles even though they were brothers. Gu Jingze said, our interests are different, so there's no reason for us to be together. For instance, older brother is into horse riding, chess, and gold. I don't like any of these things, so of course, we wouldn't be in the same circle. Alright then, in that case, didn't you play together when you were young? No, Gu Jingze continued. When we were younger, older brother was calm and collected and Jingyu was rambunctious. Whenever Jingyu caused trouble, older brother was in charge of settling conflicts, but older brother usually couldn't be bothered to join him. Lin Che thought about it. It seemed that the three brothers actually had quite a good relationship. But she was even more curious now and said, if Gu Jingyu caused trouble and older brother helped him settle things, then what did you do? I watched the show. Huh. Gu Jingyu said, I watched Gu Jingyu cause trouble and I watched older brother help him settle the matters. Lin Che was completely surprised. Gu Jingze was really too much. Why didn't you go and help him out? I can't believe you just watched it happen. You have no sense of brotherhood at all. Gu Jingze said, since someone was around to help him, why would I still go and waste my energy? I could just watch on from the side. Alright then, Lin Che had concluded that older brother was probably a natural-born leader. He had been so domineering from the start. On the other hand, Gu Jingyu was just a typical younger brother. He enjoyed causing trouble wherever he went like a hedonistic son born to rich parents. As for Gu Jingze, he had been an unscrupulous businessman since he was young. For a long time, he had already known to calculate these things. Suddenly, Lin Che wanted to see exactly what Gu Jingze was like when he was young. She was a little jealous of Mo Hiling. She had known him from a young age and was able to see Gu Jingze at that age. She also wished that she could have been involved in his life at the time. Gu Jingze must have been very fun to be with back then. It was a pity that at the time, Lin Che was still being forced to stay with the Lin family and was being bullied by her sisters. Lin Che was having these random thoughts when she felt a sudden pain in her foot. Oh no, in her moment of distraction, she had kicked the step in front of her. She had worn flip-flops out, so her toes were suddenly sore from having been crushed. The pain caused her to bend over as well. Gu Jingze. What happened to you? I hit my foot. It's all because of my bad luck. Gu Jingze looked at her speechlessly. He pulled her to her feet swiftly and said, you're so clumsy. You can't even look where you're going. Would you get lost if you went out alone? It's not that bad. Oh no, the problem is this foot. It's totally located in the wrong place. Gu Jingze shook his head. He knew that she would look for another excuse and could not be bothered to rebut her. He knocked her on the head before saying, "Fine. Don't move, I'll carry you on my back." "Ah, there's no need." No, he pulled Lin Che onto his back in one swift motion. Lin Che lay sprawled out on his back. He grabbed a hold of her arms with his arms and wound them around his own neck. Then, he reached his arms out backward to lift her legs. After placing her firmly on his back, he walked straight ahead. All right then. Lin Che felt that her foot really hurt and so she did not move it again. While leaning against his back, she looked in front of her and asked, "By the way, has older brother never met Mo Hilling?" Gu Jingze said, "He has." "Ah, then why did he say that he didn't know her earlier?" "Actually, he has only met her a few times." Gu Jingze continued, "He happened to bump into her a few times. But they've never organized a proper meeting." "Why, you and Mo Hilling were together for so long." Gu Jingze continued, "It wasn't convenient for them to meet due to some other reasons, so they never met." Gu Jingze thought about it. They had really only met a few times and he had never taken Mo Hilling out. It was probably because they had met a few times but most of them disliked Mo Hilling and there was only a handful of them who liked her. Thus, he eventually stopped wanting to take her out. Back then, he did not know why everyone just did not like Mo Hilling but he felt that Mo Hilling was slightly unreasonable and did not really cater to the masses either. She was more private, so not many people liked her. However, he never imagined that he would one day encounter a person as surprisingly wonderful as Lin Che. She was clearly very careless. She was also clearly very silly and very strange. Furthermore, she had no education in etiquette to speak of. But she left a good impression on so many people. So he eventually seemed to enjoy taking Lin Che out to meet people because he never had to worry that she would anger anyone. In addition, although she looked very silly, she still knew to keep within the norms of proper behavior. Even though she could joke around, she would not offend anyone either. In any case, the feeling of being together with her could be summarized in one word: comfortable. Gu Jingze carried Lin Che all the way inside. Yu Minmin saw Gu Jingze carry Lin Che in and immediately sprang up. She quickly said, "Quick, come and see, quick." Gu Jingze actually carried Lin Che on his back. The moment Shen Yoren and Chen Yucheng heard this, they ran out first. Gu Jingming also walked out slowly behind them. Yu Minmin was the first to walk towards them and saw Gu Jingze carefully place Lin Che on the ground. Then, she asked, "What happened?" Lin Che said, "It's nothing. I hit my foot on something while walking." From behind, Shen Yoren quickly squeezed in and smiled. She said, "Ayo, you're definitely a woman in love. When there are no men around, you can walk swiftly even with a gas hob on your back. Once there's a man around, you can't even open a water bottle cap. Even more so in this case. You hit your foot on something and now you need to be carried back." Chapter 615. I will definitely teach her a lesson at the birthday banquet in a few days. Lin Che's face turned completely red the moment she heard this. "Shen Yoren, I dare you to talk nonsense again." She ran after Shen Yoren. Shen Yoren laughed out loud and hid behind Chen Yucheng. Lin Che could not catch her even after running one round. But of course, Shen Yoren envied Lin Che. She lived so blissfully. Gu Jingze really treated her too well. Lin Che was so spoiled now only because Gu Jingze had pampered her. However, Gu Jingze was still happy to pamper her. How could she not be envious? All right, let's stop running. We were about to go back. Shen Yoren continued, "We won't continue disturbing you two." Lin Che scoffed and said, "It's so early. I don't think you're leaving because you don't want to disturb us. You're leaving because you don't want us to disturb you, right?" Lin Che raised her eyebrows and looked at Chen Yucheng. It was Shen Yoren's turn to shout. She circled Lin Che and said, "Nonsense, nonsense. Don't try to change the subject. You think I don't know what trick you're trying to pull?" The men looked at the women quarrel. They did not get involved either and simply watched from the sidelines. By the time they had quarreled enough, they were at the entrance. Lin Che watched them get into their cars. Following Yu Minmin and Gu Jingming, the president's personal bodyguards also left directly. Then, Lin Che stretched her body before going back inside. But the irritating thing was that she saw Mo Hilling standing there and looking at her when she turned around. Mo Hilling said, "What? I'm just looking. I wasn't trying to do anything." However, while speaking, she was suddenly about to puke. Mo Hilling could not swallow it down and vomited there. The maids watched from behind and were all speechless. Immediately, Mo Hilling shouted and said in discomfort, "What are you all looking at? Aren't you going to clear this up for me quickly?" It occurred to her that Lin Che was still here. Her eyes flashed and she held her stomach. She said, "This child has too much energy. Seriously, you should learn from your father. Look at how calm and collected your father is." Seeing her vomit, Lin Che simply felt a wave of disgust. She herself nearly vomited too. She glanced at Mo Hilling and saw that the maids also had disgusted expressions on their faces. Then, she headed straight for her room. She felt like she was about to vomit after closing the door. Gu Jingze saw her lean against the door with her hand on her chest. He frowned and asked, "Did they leave? What's wrong?" Lin Che said, I'm fine. I just saw Mo Hilling vomit, so I wanted to vomit too." Gu Jingze said, "That's enough. I think you feel the urge to vomit because you ate too much. You're not allowed to eat so much at one go next time, alright?" Seeing Gu Jingze's tight expression, Lin Che smiled and said, yes. I'll obey your command, okay." Mo Hilling vomited for some time there. She felt like she had lost all her energy, but everyone ignored her. She shouted angrily, "You bunch of useless trash, just wait and see." The maids looked at her with disgust written on their faces. She was not even the madam of the house, but she still strutted around like she was. Mo Hilling was so angry that she returned to her room. Tonight, she had seen Lin Che laughing and chatting happily. Gu Jingze had even carried her on his back while she herself was like someone who had been forgotten. Even Gu Jingming said that he didn't know her when they met. She was so angry that she was really about to die. While she was lying on the bed, she heard her phone ring. Initially, she was about to throw a tantrum. However, the moment she saw that the caller was Gu Lanshan, she quickly calmed her anger down and answered the call. "Aunt, I just got bullied terribly by Lin Che. She even brought her gang of scoundrel friends here to provoke me." "Alright, didn't I tell you already? You have to bear with it as much as you can. We'll do everything else secretly." "I've already been very tolerant, but Lin Che is really taking it too far," Mo Hilling said. Gu Lanshan said, "Alright. Do you know what day it will be in a few days?" "What day?" "It will be the birthday of the old master of the Gu family, my old father." "Oh, Gu Shan's birthday." Mo Hilling said, "But old master has always disliked me." "How can that be? You're carrying a child of the Gu family. In the past, he didn't like you because he felt that you couldn't continue the Gu family's bloodline. Now that you already have a child, how can he dislike you?" "But what do you mean? Are you telling me to attend his birthday banquet?" Mo Hilling's eyes lit up. If she could attend Gu Shan's birthday banquet. That was a place where so many prominent figures would not be able to squeeze into even if they broke their skulls trying. In the past, she would not have dreamed of attending Gu Shan's birthday banquet because he disliked her. She had only seen Gu Shan a few times, much less attended his birthday banquet. But she still wanted to experience it once. Gu Lanshan smiled and said, "I'm not just asking you to attend it. I'm about to tell you what my father has always wanted but has never managed to get. When the time comes, he will definitely be happy if you give this to him as a birthday present." "Really, Aunt, I'm really grateful to you for helping me like this." "Alright, you giving birth to a child of the Gu family will be sufficient thanks." Gu Lanshan could not be bothered to listen to her say these things and simply patronized her. She was asking Mo Hilling to give the present just to humiliate Mu Wanqing anyway. She smiled and said, "Not only that, Lin Che will definitely give my father the worst present ever. When the time comes, knowing how weird his temper is, it would be strange if the old master didn't chase her out." "What's that? How are you so sure that Lin Che will give him something he dislikes?" "Ha, You'll know when the time comes. Anyway, you will definitely be the subject of everyone's envy this time. You'll also be able to watch a good show, watch how Lin Che gets chased out. Mo Hilling was looking forward to it. It even caused her to immediately forget about the anger she felt today. The next day, Lin Che felt slightly nauseous the moment she arrived at the company. Seeing that her complexion was bad, Yu Minmin closed the door and asked her, "What's wrong? Was President Gu too rough with you yesterday night?" "Get lost." "No way." Lin Che glared at her and said, "I just feel a little nauseous." Yu Minmin immediately shouted, "Wow! You can't be pregnant, right?" "How can that be? My period just came a while ago. How can I start vomiting before my next period is scheduled to come? Am I pregnant with a baby or with something else?" Yu Minmin said, "I'm sure you don't know." Smiling, she continued, "I know that you're too young and haven't encountered it. People say that you will have symptoms of nausea when you've just gotten pregnant, but the symptoms won't be strong. It's because your hormone levels will suddenly change then, so you'll vomit occasionally. Once your body stabilizes, you won't vomit anymore. You'll only start vomiting again 3 to 4 months later. Oh no, you should go and do a checkup. What if you really are pregnant?" "Get lost. I won't be that stupid again." When her period came late by a few days the last time, she hastily went to buy a pregnancy test kit. In the end, she was not pregnant at all and felt very embarrassed. This time, she would not be so foolish as to quickly buy a pregnancy test kit. Furthermore, she was not in such a hurry to have children anyway. As she thought about it, her face became slightly red. She looked up and quickly changed the subject. "All right, didn't you say that you were going to choose a few trainees today?" Yu Minmin nodded. "Yes, I went to a few high schools a few times. I want to choose a few trainees to train them first, but whether or not they will debut depends on their luck. We'll fill up our studio with the hope that it will do better and better. We'll nurture and more huge celebrities." Chapter 616. You must have the air of a celebrity to be one. There were 4 major drama academies in C Nation. There were still numerous smaller academies, but these 4 were probably the most famous. 2 of these major academies were in B City while the other 2 were in other cities. This time, Lin Che and Yu Minmin came to one of the major academies to take a look. Lin Che had studied here before. She had also graduated from this academy back then, so this place was very familiar to her. But the last time she came, Qin Wanwan had come with her for training. Now, she had already opened her own studio and was here to choose trainees. In actual fact, there was no such thing as trainees to speak of in the country at first. However, they later learned a bit of the system. Their system was not as cruel as the system in Korea. They merely brought the trainees back to the company to sign a contract and started slowly training them. Many people gathered around after finding out that Lin Che and Yu Minmin were here. Although Lin Che's studio was newly opened and had no other celebrities apart from Lin Che, everyone knew that Lin Che was a skilled actress. They also knew that Yu Minmin was capable because she had caused Lin Che to emerge victorious in her struggle to leave the company's control. Everyone was very confident in Yu Minmin's management abilities, especially when she was also the president's wife. In particular, Lin Che was now a huge celebrity too. Thus, they felt that they would have better opportunities if a famous celebrity could promote them. It was better than the small companies that usually came to scout them. From the moment they stepped in, they saw many people crowding around them. Their vision was a little blurred as a result. Lin Che said, "They're so enthusiastic. Of course, there are too many questionable management companies around these days. They sign people on first and then simply leave them be. Alternatively, they continue to sell the contracts to other companies and the situation gets very messy. You're the living billboard of our studio. They know that you're here to choose trainees and so they know first and foremost that our company is credible. Of course, they rushed here." Lin Che looked at these people and did not see anyone particularly striking. She walked all the way in and greeted the head of the academy first. When they shook hands, the head of the academy said, "I'm not very familiar with signing contracts and debuting. You can come in and take a look. This is our school." There were many students and the head of the academy also specifically pointed out a few elite students who had already revealed their outstanding talent. Lin Che said that she would take a look since the academy head was recommending them. The academy head had already prepared for this and told a few students to come in. The students had dressed up very well. Although they were still students, they were drama students who had gone for some auditions and performances and learned how to groom themselves early on. One after another, each of them looked pretty good. It was obvious that they wanted to perform well in front of Lin Che and Yu Minmin. The bright sparks in their eyes were pleasant to see. Yu Minmin looked at Lin Che. Lin Che saw nothing special. She really did not think that any of them were a good choice. Lin Che asked, "What do you think?" Yu Minmin said, "They're all right." Lin Che then replied, "Then, why don't we just go out and look around on our own?" She stood up and said to the academy head, "We'll bring your documents back and discuss amongst ourselves before contacting you. We'll go out and take a look on our own too and see if we meet anyone suitable." "Oh, okay. Take your time and walk around. These are the passes to some of our classrooms. Take them with you so that you can go anywhere you want." "All right, thank you." No problem. We'll cooperate with you so that we can improve together. Weren't you chosen by Miss Yu through this process in the past?" "Haha, yes sir." Lin Che was not an outstanding student in school back then. In fact, the academy head could not have known her. However, there were so many people in school, so it was not the case that every outstanding student would become famous in the end. Lin Che and Yu Minmin walked on the path while reading the documents they had been given. "I think all of them look fine, but they won't stand out easily and don't look like celebrities." Lin Che asked, "So when you looked at me, did you feel that I had the air of a celebrity?" "Of course. You're the type of person who can catch people's eyes instantly from afar. When I swept my eyes over the students earlier, I felt that they were very ordinary. The aura of a celebrity is something that you have to be born with. You can't learn it later on. It's something that comes from within and it definitely doesn't come about easily." "Really? I caught your eye from afar. I thought that you just casually signed me on." Yu Minmin said, "How can that be? I wasn't just buying vegetables. How could I have signed you so casually? From the start, you were very distinctive. With one look, I knew that you were different from the rest. If you appeared on television, people would easily recognize you too. That's why I signed you on. But every single person who signs on to the company must work hard on their own apart from receiving training from the company. You can only continue advancing your career if you find good productions, get good roles, and expand your social network. You're obviously terrible at expanding your social network. I hate you." "Relax. Every famous celebrity starts their career like you. You're not an exception, everyone seems to be like this." Lin Che thought to herself that this was true. Every main lead started out with so many mediocre supporting roles before slowly making progress. Lin Che and Yu Minmin continued walking. The people by the road were still looking at them. Many of them wanted to approach them but did not dare to. In the end, someone came up to them and greeted them first. She said to Yu Minmin, "Sister Yu, Sister Che, nice to meet you." Yu Minmin smiled in response and said, "Nice to meet you. What's your name?" Then, they took down her contact details and she left with a satisfied smile. Lin Che asked, "Is she all right?" Yu Minmin said, "She has the guts to take the initiative. In the future, she might have the same courage when she meets a director. She will save us so much money if she can find her own opportunities. In this circle, you must be able to make discerning judgments." Thereafter, Lin Che saw a student listening to the professor with rapt attention and asked her for her contact details as well. Her side profile was very beautiful and she did indeed have the air of a main lead. Of course, when it came to the boys, it was easier to market those young and fresh types. Still, it would not be easy for them to become famous. They also saw some boys with very good acting skills and some with very unique appearances. They also took down their contact details because these boys could possibly go down the route of skilled actors or other routes. After looking around for a day, the two of them were quite fruitful and went home. Gu Jingze happened to be there when Lin Che arrived at home. He came out and said to Lin Che, "Grandfather's birthday banquet is in a few days. We have to go back to attend it." "Ah, right, I remember that last year's banquet was also around this time. Should I get him something?" "It's all right, I've already instructed someone to buy a present. You can just come with me." Lin Che wanted to just agree with him. But Ji Yushand had always liked her and treated her particularly well. Thus, she felt slightly apologetic about not giving him anything. But since Gu Jingze had spoken, she did not think about giving him another gift. She merely thought that it was best to give him something to express her sincerity and wondered what that would be. However, it was a pity that she had not had much contact with Ji Yushand. She really did not know what he needed either. Chapter 617. Now she had a wrap party too. When Lin Che laid on the bed that night, she asked Gu Jingze beside her, "Is there anything you think grandfather would like?" "Something that he likes?" Gu Jingze asked, turning away from his book to look at Lin Che. Lin Che nodded vigorously and said, "Yes." "Are you still thinking about giving grandfather a gift?" "Yes, if I can think of something, I can just give it to him anyway. Grandfather treats me so well. I should express my appreciation too, right?" "Your appreciation is enough. He usually has everything he needs." "I know that he doesn't need anything. Just tell me what he likes." "He likes antique paintings," Gu Jingze replied. Lin Che immediately said dejectedly, "All right. I knew that I shouldn't have asked. It's really difficult to get something like that, right? And I don't even know what kind grandfather likes. I'm not familiar with these things either. There's a huge possibility that I would get conned if I went to choose one." "All right, if you can't think of anything, just stop thinking. Anyway, grandfather has celebrated his birthday so many times. He has probably received all kinds of presents and doesn't think much of them anymore." Lin Che thought about it and agreed. But she was still thinking about expressing her appreciation. Because nothing came to mind while she was lying on the bed, she fell asleep. The next day, the production crew held a wrap party for Lin Che. It was not a real party. Everyone was just gathered together to drink and have some food to send Lin Che off. Witch's Diary had started its broadcast but was already getting popular. After a trailer was released online, everyone felt that it was very good. However, to maintain a sense of mystery, there were very few clips of Lin Che and the other main leads. Many netizens began to look forward to what the drama would be like when it actually premiered. They were looking forward to whether Lin Che's style in the drama would be as the original novel described. The director called Lin Che beforehand to congratulate her for getting everyone's attention before she had even appeared in the drama. Lin Che said to the director, "I'm just afraid that even though they find the drama good after watching the trailer, they may feel that the drama doesn't live up to their expectations after actually watching the whole series. They may feel very disappointed in me." The director asked, "Why? Is it because you have no confidence in me?" Lin Che said, "I'm very confident in your abilities. Many people will definitely watch your production. I'm just afraid that I'll ruin it." "No way. Your acting skills are definitely the best among this generation of stars." "Haha, thank you for complimenting me, director. By the way, we're wrapping up tonight. You can invite anyone you want to come and join us." "Sure, then I'll invite a few friends to join in the fun." All right. She felt that she had really left a good impression on the director, which was why he treated her so warmly. He even called her and spoke to her as if he was chatting with a friend. Yu Minmin had said that she did not know how to expand her social network. Now, she suddenly felt a sense of accomplishment at the fact that she could be familiar with the director. After the director hung up, Lin Che first told Shen Yoren to come and attend her wrap party. Then, she told Yu Minmin that she could bring a few friends to join in the fun. She could call up some staff in the studio. Just then, Gu Jingze suddenly sent her a message in WeChat that said, "I'm back in the country." He had not contacted her for a long time and the rumors stated that he had been filming secretly in Hollywood. Lin Che asked in surprise, "Wow, you're back. Did you really go to Hollywood to expand your career?" About this, I signed a confidentiality agreement with the production crew." His reply was akin to a tacit confession. "No wonder you disappeared for such a long time. So it was true. Then, you're back in the country now, right?" "Yes, temporarily. It's a pity that I can't go and pick you up right now. The production crew is organizing a farewell party for me, to congratulate me on wrapping up filming." "Ah, you're wrapping up filming? I should congratulate you, but shouldn't you invite me to your wrap party since you're wrapping up?" Huh, are you coming here? Yes. Why, am I not welcome? No, no, of course not. But why are you suddenly coming? I haven't had time to prepare. Oh no, it looks like you didn't miss me at all. After being away for so long, I wanted to visit you when I came back. But you're saying that you don't want me to come over. No, no, no. How can I possibly mean that? Come over. I'm it. She gave him the name of the restaurant and Gu Jingze only ended the call thereafter. By the time Lin Che arrived at the restaurant, Shen Yoren and Yu Minmin had already arrived first. The first thing Shen Yoren saw after going in was the main male lead, a young and fresh actor. He had been getting quite popular lately, so Shen Yoren immediately said excitedly, "Wow, wow, wow, wow. He's so handsome. Quick, Lin Che, come with me over there to take a photo with him later." Lin Che said, all right, I'll bring you over later to take a photo with him." Some time later, she saw another actor and exclaimed again, "Wow. That one is handsome too. All right, you can take a photo with all of them." Wow, Lin Che, you're so lucky. You can collaborate with so many handsome young actors. There's nothing lucky about that. I can only look at them. It's not like I can take all of them. I guess that's a problem too, Shen Yoren continued. Furthermore, your character is really a third party. All the readers feel that the two males should get together and you should leave earlier. Get lost. Even though Shen Yoren was speaking the truth. To be honest, while reading the novel, Lin Che herself thought that there should be no female lead. But her character was actually quite popular, alright. Just then, Gu Jingze called to tell her that he was already outside. Lin Che said hastily, "Give me a minute. I'll go out and bring someone in." Yu Minmin said, "You invited someone else here?" Yes. He managed to make it in time. Lin Che rushed out while speaking. Sure enough, when she went out, she saw Gu Jingze looking charming as usual. He alighted from the car and looked very confident and at ease. He caught sight of Lin Che immediately and waved, saying, "Hey, I'm here." Lin Che walked towards him and saw him walking towards her quickly. She looked him up and down and felt that he had really slimmed down a little. It seemed that he had had a very tough time filming in Hollywood. The first thing Gu Jingze did was to look Lin Che up and down. "Seriously, you look like you really didn't miss me at all. You didn't lose weight at all. You actually even gained a bit of weight." Lin Che said, "That's impossible. What does missing you have to do with my weight? But you really slimmed down." "That's a matter of course. It's because I missed you. I'm not as heartless as you are." "Nonsense. Stop messing around." The two of them walked into the restaurant together. Gu Jingze smiled and said, "But now, you're starting to have people celebrate your wrapping up for you. PFT. As expected, even without me, you're now the mainstay of the production crew. I feel as if I'm about to be abandoned." Indeed, there was usually no wrap party. But if there was a huge star, they would definitely have a party to send him or her off. A gathering like that was a show of respect. It was actually Lin Che's first time having a wrap party after filming ended. Did this mean that she was now considered a top star? Chapter 618, Who dares to speak to Gu Jingze like that? Gu Jingze and Lin Che went in together. The production crew and cast saw Lin Che come in with someone following behind her. All of them froze and looked at them in confusion. When they saw that the person behind her was actually Gu Jingze, all of them were shocked. Gu Jingze had not appeared for a long time. Everyone knew that he had gone overseas to film, but he never admitted to it and never responded to the rumors either. But now, he was suddenly making his first domestic appearance with Lin Che at the production crew's wrap party. What was going on? Shen Yoren had initially been following Yu Minmin around to take photos with the male leads. But she looked up only to see Gu Jingze. He stood beside Lin Che with a dashing appearance. With a smile on his face, he swept his eyes over everyone. His glass-like eyes seemed to hold the stars in them. Anyone would have been stunned after being looked at by those eyes. Shen Yoren immediately exclaimed, "Minmin. That's Gu Jingze." "Yes," Yu Minmin said. Shen Yoren hurriedly pulled Yu Minmin and walked out while mumbling to Yu Minmin at the same time, no wonder Lin Che doesn't feel anything when she works with so many handsome men. In actual fact, Lin Che has seen enough handsome men. Huh. Hey, no matter how handsome these young actors are, they turn into dust instantly when they're in front of Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze simply looks like a famous celebrity. The moment he appears, he exudes brilliant rays of light. If Gu Jingze is not by Lin Che's side, Gu Jingze is. Of course, she won't take a fancy to those young male actors. Yes, everyone knows about the rumors previously surrounding Lin Che and Gu Jingze. Thus, there were no rumors at all surrounding her and these young male actors. Everyone thinks that since she was in a scandal with Gu Jingze, there's totally no need for her to be in a scandal with anyone else. Alright. Yu Minmin saw Gu Jingze and said, "Senior Jingze, you're here." Shen Yoren had a smitten expression on her face too. She hinted to Lin Che by tugging at her and looking at her meaningfully. She wanted Lin Che to let her take a photo with him. Lin Che glared at Shen Yoren, who was being such a fool, and could only say, "Let's take a photo first." Gu Jingze easily agreed. They immediately started taking photos at the doorway. Shen Yoren looked at the photos with a satisfied and ecstatic expression on her face. The other people in the production crew also rushed over to greet him. Gu Jingze smiled and politely chatted with everyone. Everyone knew that Gu Jingze treated others coldly. He was probably smiling only on Lin Che's account. A few no-name actors did not even dare to approach them and merely watched from afar. Thus, Lin Che and Gu Jingze went in and took a seat first. Gu Jingze said, "I watched the trailer for your drama series. It was quite good, but now that you're done with filming, do you have any plans for your next production?" Lin Che said, "I still don't have any plans. I'm going to take a break and see how things go. Right now, I just want to make sure everything goes well for my studio." Alright then. Lin Che remembered that Gu Shand was going to have a birthday banquet. She looked at Gu Jingze and asked, "By the way, did you actually come back to attend the Gu family birthday banquet?" Birthday banquet? Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes. Lin Che asked in surprise, "Why? Did you really not know? Grandfather's birthday banquet is in a few days." As expected, Gu Jingze's expression changed and he said bluntly, "Of course, I'm not going to attend that old man's birthday banquet." Lin Che asked, "Why? Is there some misunderstanding between the two of you?" "It's not a misunderstanding," Gu Jingze continued, "you can ask him directly. You don't have to ask me." Lin Che said, "Alright then. I don't really understand what happened between the two of you, but I just want to say that no matter what enmity there is, so many years have passed. Children grow up and their way of thinking changes. Adults mature too and their thoughts also change. Just think about it, all of us have been immature and naive at one point or another in our childhood. But the adults always forgave us in the end. Now, why don't we give them a chance and try to forgive them?" "That's enough. Stop talking about it." Gu Jingze's expression suddenly changed. Lin Che said, alright, I'll stop. I don't know the details. You understand them better than me. You're smarter than me too, so you've definitely thought what I'm thinking now a long time ago. I just want to say that there's no such thing as a contest between family members. Don't make yourself regret for the rest of your life just because you can't let go of your pride if grandfather passes away one day and you still don't reconcile with him by then and don't even make an effort to. Do you think you would regret it?" Gu Jingze had already gone completely silent and instead stood up immediately. Everyone was still looking at him blankly. Without looking at anyone, Gu Jingze did not speak another word and walked out directly with his face pulled taut. Lin Che also stood up hastily. "Gu Jingze," she shouted from where she was standing. But Gu Jingze walked out without even turning back. Lin Che called after him again. "Gu Jingze, fine, leave if you want to. But I think what I said was right." She did not know whether Gu Jingze heard her either. He pulled the door open and left directly. Everyone watched this scene with surprise. Had they heard correctly earlier? Lin Che was really audacious. How could she call Gu Jingze by his full name? And from what they heard, it seemed like she had been arguing with Gu Jingze. Who on earth dared to speak so rudely to Gu Jingze? Yu Minmin looked at Lin Che and walked towards her hurriedly. "Why? Lin Che regained her bearings and shook her head. It's nothing. I just gave him some advice. She realized that she had been a little too impulsive earlier. She had not paid attention to the fact that there were still so many people here. Now that she was done speaking, she realized that everyone was staring at her. They were looking at her with curiosity and their gazes were all different. Lin Che frantically said, "Eat and drink freely, everyone. We were just talking about some personal matters earlier. It's nothing." Alright then, Lin Che and Gu Jingze even had personal matters. She was not wrong. Since they were friends in their private lives, it was completely normal for them to have personal matters between them. But they were still very surprised. They had never seen anyone dare to speak to Gu Jingze like this in the industry. The next day, Lin Che returned to the Gu residence to help out with the preparations for the birthday banquet. Gu Jingze was busy and did not return with her. Lin Che looked at the invitations and the list of names together with Mu Wanqing. That incident with Gu Jingze was still weighing on Lin Che's mind. She felt fine when she was somewhere else. But now that she was in the Gu residence, she kept wanting to ask. She constantly looked like she had something on her mind. Mu Wanqing found it a little strange. She looked at Lin Che and asked, "What's wrong? Little Che, are you thinking about Jingze? You look like you can't be bothered with me. Jingze is really too busy. How can he not come back even for a little while today?" Lin Che said, "No, mother. I wanted to ask about Gu Jingze. Why does he just refuse to come home? Does he not like grandfather?" Mu Wanqing froze. She looked at Lin Che for a long time before sighing with melancholy. Then, she said, "This child, Jingze, has always been very rebellious. It's also because the family pampered him too much when he was young. He bore a grudge because of that one time we didn't do things his way. I can understand it too. We broke his heart then. Because he knew that his own grandfather masterminded everything, he immediately had a huge argument with his grandfather. He said that he would never come back to this house for the rest of his life and that he would no longer acknowledge this grandfather of his." "So, grandfather really masterminded everything?" "That's right. You won't be able to witness your grandfather's power now. He was just like how Jingze is now. It was because he had to bear the responsibility of being the head of the family, but your grandfather actually didn't want to do it." Chapter 619. Lin Che herself asked for trouble. Mu Wanqing looked at Lin Che. "Your grandfather also knows that this grandson of his has the same disposition as him. He's stubborn and his grandson is just as stubborn as he is." Lin Che sighed. It was not just because of grandfather. She was very worried that Gu Jingze would be the one to regret it in the end. After all, she had experienced something similar. It was only when her mother really passed away that she felt that she had not properly asked her what she had experienced back then. It made her feel more or less regretful. Mu Wanqing was about to go to the front to check on the other aspects of the banquet, so Lin Che walked around on her own here. The Gu residence looked just like a manor. She found a place to sit down and a maid approached her to ask if she needed something to drink. She asked for fruit juice and took a few mouthfuls. Then, she heard someone call her name from behind her. Gu Lanshan was behind her. She looked at Lin Che and asked, "Why are you sitting alone here?" Lin Che could still remember that when Mo Hiling had said that she was pregnant back then, Gu Lanshan had supported her. Thus, Lin Che did not like her at all when she saw her now. She merely looked at Gu Lanshan and said, "Aunt." Gu Lanshan said, "You don't mind if I sit here, right?" "Of course not, Aunt." Lin Che was not so extreme. Gu Lanshan said, "What happened? Your complexion doesn't look so good. Are you feeling unwell?" Lin Che smiled. "It's nothing. But Aunt, has grandfather never said anything about Jingyu's absence every year? He didn't tell anyone to go and look for him either." Gu Lanshan smiled and looked at Lin Che. "Yes, old master is stubborn like that. There's no use trying to change his mind about something he has decided on. Forget it, don't wet yourself with muddy water. But this matter has always been weighing on your mother-in-law's mind. Your mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, will probably never be at ease for every day that Jingyu doesn't return." Gu Lanshan looked at her and sighed deeply. Then, she said, "All right, I'll take my leave first." Lin Che smiled. "All right, take care, Aunt." Gu Lanshan looked in Lin Che's direction and scoffed. Thereafter, she went to give someone a call. We don't need Lin Che to give that present we prepared for her anymore. Over the phone, Mo Hilling asked in surprise, what? Why? Gu Lanshan said, initially, I wanted to talk to her about the present, but I realized that she was asking for trouble on her own. She asked me about Gu Jingyu and I told her specifically that grandfather is very stubborn, but that her mother-in-law Mu Wanqing was very troubled by Gu Jingyu. I wonder if she will try to resolve the matter to please her mother-in-law. If that's the case, then there's no need for us to do anything. If she really wants to help her mother-in-law handle the matter, then we'll just wait for old master to throw a fit and chase her out. Mo Hilling asked, what if she was just mentioning it and wasn't planning to actually do anything? She seemed as if she was really going to get involved in it. Humph, I've seen these types of girls often. They feel like they're invincible after being doted on for just a few days. She will know when the time comes. After thinking about it on the way home, Lin Che finally decided that she was definitely going to give grandfather a present. When Gu Jingze returned, Lin Che told him about it. He smiled and asked, you're seriously not going to give up on it? Lin Che said, don't put it like that. I just want to try. Gu Jingze looked at her quietly for some time before finally saying, sure, let's go. I'll take you somewhere. Where? Jingyu's old bedroom. Gu Jingyu brought Lin Che to Gu Jingyu's old bedroom. Although it had been a long time since anyone lived in it and the decorations were slightly outdated, it was still spotlessly clean. It looked like people often came to clean the place up. Lin Che saw many of Gu Jingyu's possessions and was truly very surprised. She looked up at Gu Jingze. Aren't you afraid that I'll cause trouble for you? Just a small issue like this, he tapped her on the forehead. It's nothing to me, don't worry. Lin Che nodded. All right, I'm even bolder now that you've said this. I'll become even more and more bold in the future. I wonder if I'll dig you into a hole. Huh, on the contrary, I do want to know what trouble I can't settle in C Nation. Lin Che immediately felt a sense of admiration for him. She looked up at Gu Jingze. Not many people were invited to Gu Shan's birthday banquet. Only relatives from the same family and friends of many years. Outside the Gu residence, Mo Hilling alighted and searched for Gu Lanshan. However, two guards from the Gu family approached her from afar and said that they were going to bring her in. Miss Mo, First Miss instructed us to invite you in. The first miss was Gu Lanshan. Hearing this, Mo Hilling hastily followed them in. After going in, the guards took her to a private room. The hall was temporarily filled with people, so Gu Lanshan brought her here and settled her down to rest up first. One of the guards said, First Miss told us that your body isn't in good condition, so you should rest here. There are too many people over there. It won't be good if you knock into someone. Mo Hilling happened to be looking outside and watching the people outside walk to and fro. She felt slightly excited as it was her first time attending Gu Shan's birthday banquet. She thought to herself, humph. She had said from the start that one day, she would definitely walk into this place proudly. Today, she had finally found her way in. Thinking of this, she quickly posted on her feed. Anyone with discerning eyes could tell that the location was indicated and the name of the place shown was the Gu residence. She stated without hesitation that she was here to attend a birthday banquet held by the Gu family. There were so many people and it was too cramped. It irritated her to death. She saw an envious comment below stating, no way. You actually went to the Gu residence to attend the birthday banquet. Did you really get back together with Gu Jingze? A birthday banquet held by the Gu family is such a major event. Why didn't you say that you were going to attend it beforehand? I'm outside. I came to attend the banquet too. Hilling, where are you? Let's go in together. Did you go in with Gu Jingze? Can you introduce me to Gu Jingze? It was so difficult for me to come. I just want to take a photo with him. Mo Hilling looked at these comments proudly. Then she heard that people were already taking out the presents they had prepared. Mo Hilling looked at those huge items. She walked over and ran her hands along the edges of the presents while thinking that she was really looking forward to Lin Che's expression later. Outside, preparations for the birthday banquet were nearly complete. So many people had already arrived. Lin Che and Gu Jingze sat inside. In front of them, Gu Jingming and Yu Minmin had just arrived. It was Yu Minmin's first time attending and she was even sitting in such a prominent position. She could not help but feel a little nervous. From time to time, she looked up at Gu Jingming. Lin Che looked at the people bustling around. All of them were looking over here. Because this was a family banquet, the round tables were placed beside one another. Of course, Gu Jingze and Gu Jingming sat at the head of the table. Gu Lanshan was also sitting with them. Just then, they heard someone say that old master was here. Everyone stood up to welcome the birthday star. Chapter 620. It seemed like Lin Che's status was being threatened. Gu Shan cupped his hands in greeting and said to the people in the room, all right. I'm already so old but I still troubled everyone to come here. I'm truly apologetic. Everyone congratulated him in unison. All of them said, Old Gu, happy birthday. Old Gu, many happy returns of the day. All right, have a seat, everyone. Of course, Gu Shan came directly to the main table. He looked around at everyone and smiled. He said, thank you for your trouble over the past few days. Grandfather, happy birthday, Gu Jingze and a few other younger ones first said. Gu Shan looked very happy as he sat down. Although he always said that he liked the quiet, he ultimately still felt a sense of satisfaction when he saw everyone gathered together. Just then, several relatives who had no place at the main table came to give a toast to Gu Shan. They were not like Gu Jingze who could see Gu Shan whenever he wanted to. Lin Che too felt that it was not difficult for her to meet Gu Shan either since she was with Gu Jingze. She always met him whenever she came to the Gu residence. However, to others, he was a person whom they could not meet even if they wanted to. Some of them really only had this chance once a year to meet him. They approached Gu Shan and greeted him properly, hoping to leave an impression on him so that these smaller branches of the Gu family could receive more benefits. Thus, they put in a lot of effort into it and were extremely cautious as they were afraid that Gu Shan would be unhappy. Furthermore, the gifts they presented were extremely precious and grand. Gu Shan smiled and nodded while looking at the presents. He did not care about what they actually gave him, it was fine as long as they had good intentions. Just then, Gu Jingze stood up as well and said, Grandfather, happy birthday. This is my present for you. He instructed a maid to bring him the gift box. Without opening it to take along, he handed it directly to Gu Shan. Gu Shan opened it to take a look before smiling and saying, not bad. It must have been difficult to find this. Gu Jingze said, it's just an expression of appreciation for you. The people sitting elsewhere watched as Gu Jingze gave the present and could not help but speculate about what the present was. A present from Gu Jingze definitely wouldn't be cheap, someone sitting at another table said. Hearing this, the person beside him smiled and said, whatever. It doesn't matter at all what present Gu Jingze gives. Just look at where he's sitting. What do you mean? He's sitting at the main table, all right. The people sitting there are all old Gu's immediate family members. He's old Gu's biological grandson. He can give him anything. Everyone heard this and went silent. They looked at the people sitting there. Indeed, they were Gu Shan's immediate family members. The man was right. As long as the present was from a family member, it did not matter what it was. Sitting at the head of the table, Gu Jingming also gave Gu Shan a present soon after. Gu Shan smiled and said, I don't care for any presents. Do you know what present is the best for me now? If all of you could give me a great-grandson as soon as possible. I've been waiting so long for that day to come. The two of you brothers and you too, Jingyan. All of you should work harder for me. They went silent. Just then, Gu Lanshan suddenly stood up. She smiled and walked to Gu Shan. Then, she lowered her head and said something into his ear. While watching her, Lin Che suddenly felt her body tighten. She sensed that something was wrong. Mu Wanqing felt the same way too. She felt uncomfortable when she looked at them. Gu Shan listened to Gu Lanshan and then looked up to say, really? Gu Lanshan merely smiled and nodded. Gu Shan pondered for a bit before looking up and saying, all right. Tell her to come in. Gu Lanshan smiled at this. She lifted her hand and gestured to someone. The people around them did not know what had happened. But they suddenly saw the doors open. A young woman with a slightly bulging stomach walked in with her chest held high. It was Mo Hilling. Mo Hilling walked gracefully in with a good taste. Her clothes and style clearly exuded the elegance of a well-bred young lady. For a moment, everyone else could not really remember who she was. Just then, someone suddenly remembered who she was. She's the young miss of the Mo family. Oh, no wonder she looks so familiar. In the past, she was actually together with Gu Jingze for so many years. I met her a few times before. I didn't expect her to become so beautiful now. After all, she looked different from Lin Che. Furthermore, because they had different family backgrounds, the auras they exuded were different too. Although Lin Che was beautiful, her status as a celebrity made people feel that she displayed herself in public too much. She was completely different from those well-bred young ladies who never stepped foot out of the house. While Mo Hilling was obviously not as beautiful as Lin Che, people felt that she was a well-bred young lady because of the modest feeling she gave off. On the other hand, Lin Che was so beautiful that she was a little too conspicuous. When the crowd saw Mo Hilling enter with a bulging belly, they immediately recalled how Mo Hilling had previously gone around announcing that she was pregnant with Gu Jingze's child. Now, she had come here with her bulging stomach. And she had even come to the Gu family villa to meet Gu Shand. Did that mean that what she had gone around saying back then was true? Everyone could not help but look at the people at the main table. Mo Hilling could sense that everyone's eyes were on her. She had waited for this feeling for too long. Her eyes started to tear up. Meanwhile, Gu Shand was inside. She could see that Lin Che was sitting at the same table as the old master. How could she be sitting there? Indeed, since she was together with Gu Jingze and was Gu Jingze's wife, the young madam of the Gu family, it was only natural for her to sit there. That position had initially been hers, that position that everyone admired and was envious of should have been hers from the start. But now it had become Lin Che's. Mo Hilling clenched her fists tightly. Fortunately, she now heard the people around her talking about her. Miss Mo is better. Ultimately, she's from a good family. Yes, I think that Lin Che's position is being threatened now that Miss Mo is pregnant with Gu Jingze's child and has even been called here. Precisely. No matter how beautiful Lin Che is, she's ultimately an entertainer. Seems like Miss Mo is more likable. Of course, after all, she became pregnant with a child. All old people like children. Hearing their words, Mo Hilling raised her head even more confidently. They were right. The old master definitely liked children. In no time, back inside, Gu Jingze stood up. He looked at Gu Lanshan and asked, "First aunt, what exactly is going on?" Lin Che quickly stood up as well and pulled Gu Jingze's arm from beside him. Gu Lanshan asked, "Why?" "I was just telling your grandfather that Miss Mo is outside waiting to congratulate your grandfather on his birthday." "Why, is she not even allowed to give him a present and express her appreciation?" Just then, Gu Shand raised his hand slightly. "Jingze, that's enough. It's not such a serious matter either." Gu Jingze narrowed his eyes and looked in front. Mo Hilling stood there pitifully. So many people were staring at them from below. Although they did not dare to look at them directly, they were still sneaking curious glances.